A lot of people seem to be really negative about this update, and I think it's good to call out larger companies on being greedy. I think that's good, don't get me wrong, but I kind of want to focus on the happier and the cooler side. The elemental swords in Citadel Daymore, they got a massive buff, each of them, and there are some slight nerfs, but I'll get into that in a second. Let me go get them real quick. Oh yeah, I'm using the Squid Game operator because, why not, right? It's free. I'm going to do these swords in the order of which I believe is the strongest. I'd say the fire sword is now the weakest. Also, look, I swing once, I kill 2 enemies. That is new. So every sword effectively kills enemies twice as fast. Actually, a little more than twice as fast, but I'll get into that later as we get into each sword's ability. Boop. A 1, a 2, a 3, and that is the fire sword. Or the dragon sword, whatever you'd want to call it, the Caliburn. Now, this thing, you may notice, I am rating it below the stag sword, the lightning sword, which was previously by far the worst sword in the game. That is for a couple reasons. So the Caliburn, let me just use its ability real quick. Still has this like crazy fire ability, right? The problem is, before, when you had used that, it would deal like a lot of fire damage and everything to elites and specials, and also just your normal melee with light elites and specials on fire. That no longer applies. So the reason that is because the Caliburn and every sword now takes your augments from your ammo mods into account. Right now I have the 2 augments on Napalm Burst that allow the fire to spread. So now every time an enemy is inflicted with fire through the sword, it will spread. Now if you want it to affect elites, you have to equip big game so it affects elites, right? It no longer does it by default, which could be seen as a buff or a nerf. It just means that you can change what the sword does a bit more and have a couple, like, more abilities. It's up to your choice. And that really comes into play with some of the later swords on the list. And also, if you notice, I already have the ability back. That is because not just can you kill 2 zombies at a time, so the rate at which you get the ability would have normally been double previously. Like, look, I have it again. That fast. It's insane. But not just can you kill 2 zombies at a time, so the rate's effectively doubled. It's actually even crazier than that, because they lowered the kill requirement by, let me check. Never mind, they didn't lower the kill requirement for the Caliburn. It was just already low, and since you can kill 2 zombies at a time now, you get it twice as fast. So that's good. I'm gonna use it for a little bit, just to get some proper testing in. I think in this video, I'm just gonna swap between the swords every now and then, even after I've tried them all, and just see how high of a round I can get to and have some fun with them, because I haven't properly gotten to use them all much. Now, we can move on to the next sword in the list. Now, this one might come to as a very big shock. No, it's not. It's actually the light sword, the previous best sword in the game. This sword is still incredible, don't get me wrong. It's just that the Void Sword and the Lightning Sword have gotten such a massive glow up. They are incomparable to their previous forms. But before we get to them, they're for later, so wait for a bit for those. For now, let's focus on the light sword. What is different about this thing? Now, it's the only sword to properly have gotten a nerf, kind of, because you could say the fire sword got a slight nerf in the form of requiring you to have big game on to affect special zombies. But okay, well, there goes Dying Wish. L plus my fault. You could say that the fire sword got a nerf just because the fire effect isn't directly immediately applied to specials without you equipping something, right? But the kill 2 enemies at a time still ends up leading to it being a buff, right? That is such a massive, massive buff that every sword has received. But with the light sword, or Soleus, you'll notice my armor on the left is actually increasing at a lower rate than before. Previously, every zombie you killed would increase your armor by 5%. Now it has been lowered to 4%. Not a big deal, really. You'd think that you hit 2 enemies at a time, right? It'll proc that twice. It does not. It's once per swing. So you do get less armor. That being said, the ability for the sword to hit 2 enemies at a time still makes it better than it used to be, I would say. Now, it has a couple other changes. Let me go through them real quick. So, as I mentioned, there's a slight reduction of the effectiveness of the armor generation ability. It's a change from 5% to 4% per swing. And slightly increased swing interruption time. I don't know what that means. I think it means it swings slower than the other swords, but I could not tell you. I might check the frame data and find out if it actually swings slower or not. But regardless, I still believe this sword to be better now than it was before. And it is the third worst sword. It just goes to show how crazy some of the others are now. But anyway, let's use the ability, right? So same as before, I get low, I use the ability, and I'm back up to full, and I can just run through zombies and they all die, right? This one, same with the Caliburn, did not have a change to the amount of kills required to charge it. Also, let me grab my Void Sword piece while I'm in here for later. There we go. Got the jawbone. But the fact that you can hit 2 zombies yet again makes it charge twice as fast, right? And there's actually the buff that I mentioned previously that all the other swords got, this one didn't get. So this should be the Light Mend ammo mod, right? But this doesn't actually proc the Light Mend ammo mod, unlike all the other swords where they actually proc their individual ammo mods. So this one didn't even get a buff there. It didn't get affected, which is why its place is lowered so much on the list. But yet again, I have my ability up, and it's an amazing ability, and it shreds everything, and it regens my armor. Don't get me wrong, this sword is amazing. This sword is fantastic. It's just that the changes have allowed other swords to be even more fantastic. I am a bit sad that the Caliburn is so low on the list, but it's still good. It's still amazing, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Anyway, let's move on to the next sword, now that I've gone over all the changes of this one. In terms of strength... Oh, wait, actually, let's kill the Amalgam real quick. Give me a second. There we go. That was without having anything charged on this. Let's just default every sword will kill an Amalgam that fast. Or if I had this thing's ability up, this thing would have killed it faster too, you know? Next sword on the list, we are finally getting to the previous worst sword in the game, the Lightning Sword. Now let me, I've already collected the Tesla coils. Actually, I'm missing one. I need to go to the basement. There should be a special zombie in here. Oh yeah, and they fixed an issue in here. The zombie in here used to be able to drop the Tesla coil outside of the map. That can no longer happen. There we go. Got it. And if you don't remember how to upgrade the Lightning Sword, you just go on over to this pot after you have all the testicles I've already shown, and then you just sit around for a bit in the storm. Every now and then, your sword will get charged with electricity, and then you just slap the pot. You gotta do that 3 times. You don't need to kill zombies for it or anything, you just wait around. Though I am gonna kill a couple to get them out of my way. Killing 2 at a time is so nice. Okay, there I have a charge. Hit it into the pot, and wait for another. Alright, 2. And I just gotta wait for 1 more. Oh, and by the way, in terms of how the hit 2 zombies at a time works, it's if you're really close to them, it will 1-hit both zombies. But if you're a little further away, it might do like half health to the second zombie. The second hit is not always a 1-hit. You can see right there, that guy's a little health left. It's because I was a little far away from him. But if you're just face-hugging zombies, it will kill 2 every time. Like that. Okay, now I need to put the sword in here now that I've gotten all 3 of the charges on it and the storm is gone. Wait for it to charge up and take it. So this sword got the biggest buff of every sword. As you can see, it just procced my Deadwire ammo mod. Previously, the sword would proc Deadwire, but now, since it steals from my ammo mod's augments, it does the like massive lightning strike that I had equipped, and that is very helpful. And not just that, previously, before this patch, the cooldown on that was 25 seconds before you could proc the lightning strike again. It's now 3 seconds, and to anyone who's not good at math, that's a big change, right? That alone is a big change. But on top of that, the special attack does more damage. Your charge attack. So previously, I'll just use it against Vermin real quick to demonstrate, because for reasons I'll get into in a second, it comes back a bit faster. But if I use this, you'll notice it's doing more damage, right? Previously, it would do 40% of enemy health a tick, and now it does 65%, meaning that instead of 3 hitting zombies for all eternity, it 2 hits them. Not just, by the way, did the Deadwire proc, like lockout, get changed from every 25 seconds. It also procs more often. So before, let's say you hit the 25-second cooldown, right? There was a good chance it would take like 40 seconds to actually proc, right? Like it wouldn't proc right away. They've also increased the rate that it procs, as you can see. It just procced twice right there, almost back to back. That is such a massive change. But yeah, as you can see, I have like very good uptime on the charge attack as well. I want to use it on an Amalgam if one spawns in, because this thing shreds amalgams, like completely destroys amalgams. But I'll just use it against the Doppelgast if that's what I'm showing for now. I'll try it against Amalgam later. Yep. As you can see, it's also pretty decent against Doppelgasts, right? And zombies. It's just amazing. It's just so good. Oh, there is an Amalgam. Okay, I'm just going to charge it real quick and try it on the Amalgam. Okay, I'm charged. Oh, there's zombies in the way, but it's fine. Look at the Amalgam's health. Now, since it's based off percentage HP, that's how quick it will always kill an Amalgam, right? That's not round dependent. That's just what it does. so insane. Okay, and now onto the last and in my opinion strongest sword in the game right now, the Void Sword. Now let me go upgrade this thing real quick, and I'm gonna actually probably need to upgrade my gun to survive. I can't see the symbols because texture streaming. Oh no. It's that, right? It's gotta be that. It was. Okay, that's good. I got it. Dodge the balls. Balls in the hole. Okay, those are all the balls in the hole. I go for the other hole with more balls. Huge. Now give me. It goes into the void and it comes back out. All right. Balmung, my favorite sword, and now I believe the strongest. Before I was a little sad that this thing was weaker than the light sword because, let's be real, this thing's really freaking cool looking, right? And its ability's sick, so I'm glad that it's gotten such a glow up. So, what have they done to Balmung? Well, the ability procs more frequently, so now it will proc right there more often. And it also inherits your Shadow Rift ability. So for me, that is the enemies explode and fall on top of other enemies, so it will inherit that. It will do that instead of just the generic version. Like, see, look, they'll fall down on enemies and explode. It also, just like all the others, hits 2 enemies at once, and instead of it can proc every 25 seconds, it procs every 10 seconds. So it's had a 2.5 times increase in the amount that it can proc. Actually, more than that if you account for the frequency or the chance of it happening increasing as well. And on top of that, the ultimate ability of Balmung used to take 40 kills to activate. And that was counteracted by it being the most broken ability of all time, right? It just puts down an upgraded version of a Casimir. It does this. There we go. It's just like a black hole that sucks everything, and it's so powerful. That took 40 kills before. It now takes 25. That's a big buff. On top of all the other buffs, that's kind of insane. And when you are actually killing normal zombies and not the stupid bugs, and they're coming at you super fast, you get the ability up all the time. So it's constantly saving you. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the Fire Sword and use them all for a bit each, I think. Give them each a proper test at higher rounds and against specials and elites. Oh, there's an amalgam. This is a good way to show you. So before, previously, if you hit an amalgam right there while it's charged like this, it would have dealt fire damage, and it does not now. But you can still just do that, so. And you can just do it again. Let me just use insta-kill to deal with this thing. But yeah, previously this thing would have shredded the amalgam, and it no longer does. That's why it's on the bottom of my list. It's really, really bad at dealing with amalgams. Everything else, no problem. Fantastic at wave clear, fantastic at everything else, but just really lacks the ability to deal with elite zombies. And for that, I think I'm going to put it down because I don't trust it to keep me alive. I think I've shown enough of what this thing can do. It gets its ability super fast. The 2 kills per hit is amazing. The ability for it to steal your augments is great, but it's definitely the worst of the 4, unfortunately. Now, onto the previous best sword. And is that just me, or is it actually swinging slower? I do think they did actually nerf its swing speed. But this was previously the king of all the swords. And I know it's better with Vampirism, and I don't have Vampirism on, so it gets a bit of an unfair comparison, but still very good. So you just do that if you're ever in any trouble. So you can kind of just sit in a corner and then use this when you're in trouble. And then you have increased healing for a bit after it ends, it seems. I want to use this until I run into an amalgam. I'll just do that with every sword. Okay, so this is how it deals with an amalgam. Instantaneously. Yeah, wait, was that a Doppelgast and not an amalgam? I might be dumb. Give me a second. Let me get the ability back. Oh, I already have it back. Okay, yeah, so it still absolutely destroys an amalgam. Good, good, good. You have no worries about anything with this sword still. Even after the nerf that people are complaining about, it's not really a nerf, let's be real. It's really not. It just really isn't. It is still absolutely amazing. Let me grab the, lightning sword real quick. The sword with the biggest glow up, because this thing was utter garbage before, unusable trash, and it is now just so good. I think this is the sword most affected by, obviously the most affected by the changes, but also most affected by the ability to work with ammo mods, because the upgraded version of Deadwire, like that where it shocks the entire room, is very powerful. And the fact that this thing had procced every 3 seconds, like look, it just procced it and it did it again. What? I also need to know if elemental pop on a sword with effects, like look, it's still proccing it. They're just constantly stunned. See, again, this thing is so good. I think there's probably arguments to be made that it is the best sword now. I just think the Void Sword's ability is too powerful, right? Because the ability on this, fantastic for wiping out amalgams and anything that you have trouble with. Like, if you ever proc it, it will just kill whatever's in front of you, right? Like, it's not bad. It's great, even. It's just, no, it's not a Void Sword. It just isn't. But this thing can almost stun lock enemies without even using its its lightning beam. Oh, actually Bug Round will be a good example because that the lightning proc does wipe out like the entirety of Bug Round if it procs. Yep. There we go. It sure does. Man, is this thing better than the Void Sword? It's really strong, at the very least. I don't know. I'll have to find out. I'm gonna go between this and the Void Sword a bit. I think I'm done using the Light and the Fire Sword, as I've used the Light Sword more than any sword already, and I can tell you it's still really good, right? I have no interest in using it more. I want to find out what's better, this or the Void Sword. I think it's actually going to take some testing, because look at that. That's crazy. And it'll happen again. Like right there, look. What are they supposed to do? Oh, and we have an amalgam, so I can just... It's dead, as well as all the zombies around it. And then I just go back to doing this, and I already have it back. And while you're using the ability, you can still proc Deadwire. The lightning beam can also proc Deadwire. Like, what have they done to this thing? It's gotten such a massive glow up, and I'm so excited because it is one of the cooler looking swords. I also love every form of, like, lightning abilities are usually some of my favorites in games, Void and lightning abilities in general, so yes, I am biased, but just having seen me use all 4 swords so far, you have to at least acknowledge that this thing is, at the very least, the second best sword in Citadel now, instead of being the garbage heap that it was before. It is so strong. And you might say, oh, there's vermin up there. How are you going to deal with them? Well, you proc that once and they're all dead. You don't even have to think about vermin. They don't exist. They're not real. My last episode, I talked about power trip type weapons that are absurdly strong. I think we finally reached that point with some of the swords on this map. Because previously, some of the swords felt weak. This one being chief among them. This thing felt painful to use. It was unfun. It was so heavily underbalanced. Like, a lot of guns were better. And heck, the power drill was better than this thing, right? The power drill, a standard melee weapon, was better than this wonder weapon. But that has completely been flipped on its head. This thing is very strong now and very fun to use. I'm very happy with the changes they did here. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm not using Aether Shroud with its new with its augment that increases your melee damage, as yes, they have confirmed that that augment works on swords. If you use it right now, it will crash your game. Keep that in mind. Also, my black hole is not appearing right now, but I can assure you it was there. It just wasn't visual. That's an interesting bug. Oh, look, we have an amalgam. Good, I can test. So yeah, it also has absolutely no problem with amalgams. And, ooh, wait, that's something I didn't even think about. Give me a second, I'm gonna die real quick. Notice how when I used the ability on the sword, it was distracting all the zombies and pulling them. Like, here, I'll do it again. Since it's distracting and pulling them, I can actually attack zombies outside of it, and I think that adds charge to my sword while I'm going. That could be interesting. Wait, do I have the ability back already? I did. Okay, wow. Yeah, I think that is how it works. Okay, so the ability, well, the moment you activate it, you can start charging again. But kills by the ability will not charge the ability, to my knowledge. So when you activate it, go around and kill all the zombies that can't attack you because they're being sucked in, and you'll charge your next ability. That could be a huge strat. Also, you can just hold down the swords, by the way. You don't have to click. I used to think you had to click for them. You don't. Augments, equip augment, melee macchiato, and we're gonna go to vampiric extraction. See how that changes how this how these swords play out. Okay, I do swing substantially slower. Substantially slower. But is it a problem? Or is it beneficial? I mean, look at my health, right? Killing 2 enemies at a time. This is with the lightning sword that, okay, well, there's Dying Wish, so no. I'd say it's not that beneficial so far. The amalgam's done though, easy. Yeah, I'm gonna die actually. This one, I believe, oh, it so swings slower. The light sword swings the slowest of all the swords, doesn't it? That's like an actual thing. It swings super slow. Well, let's see how it deals with keeping me alive. Because that's what really matters with this thing. As long as it can keep me alive better than the other swords, it withholds its niche. And it was very good at that niche. In fact, so good that you would have effective immortality with it. I don't know if that's still the case. Because before you could hold left mouse in a corner and live forever. It's seeming to keep me alive just fine. Because it gives me a tiny bit of armor, right? And that tiny bit of armor allows my Jug augment to proc the shock on armor break. See how they're all getting shocked and stunned? So I think if I sit in a corner, I'm immortal. Yeah, that is still a feature of the light sword. So you can just sit in a corner and hold left mouse for all eternity. That is a feature that still exists. You just have to have the vampiric augment, and you have to have the Jug augment that stuns on shield break. That's the only way you're going to do it. Before, you'd be able to sustain yourself by having max armor. Now, It's more so that the stun of the Jug Augment allows you to be immortal. But it is still absolutely possible, and this thing can still get you to round 999, right? So to anyone who is complaining about the Light Sword or the Lion Sword nerf, I raise you this. What you are seeing on your screen right now. In fact, I'm going to go to spawn. I'm going to turn on Rampage Inducer, and I'm going to sit in a corner and see how long I can last. Frankly, if anything, I think they buffed this sword. The ability to kill 2 zombies at a time on top of being able to do this. Like, all they've done effectively to this thing is make you a tiny bit less tanky with it. But I mean, obviously it doesn't matter. Like, look at the screen, right? But they've made you a tiny bit less tanky while doubling the round clear speed. Yeah, man, is this still just the best sword in the game? It might be. I don't even know what conclusions to draw from this. In terms of the swords, the only one that I can confidently rank is the Caliburn. I feel that this is the weakest of the swords now. The Lightning Sword has had a massive glow up and is now way better than the Caliburn, but the Caliburn really didn't change that much, and if anything, other than the hitting 2 enemies at once, I think it's a little weaker. It no longer has the ability to burn special and elite zombies as effectively as before, and I think its overall DPS got decreased while allowing it to hit more than 1 enemy. So it's still, I believe, is stronger in the long run, just not very good at taking down specials and elites anymore. Next, I don't know which is best between the Durandal, the Soleas, and the Balmung. So I'm just going to list their strengths and leave it to you which one you think is better, because I have no idea. So first off, I'm going to say the Soleas, or Soleas, whatever it's called, Solaire Dark Souls. This thing, if given... Okay, so let me preface this by saying, if you are running without any augments, without any build for this thing, this is the 3rd best sword. It's outright worse than the Balmung and the Durandal. However, if you are running the Jug Augment with the armor that stuns... Here, let me just go over the augments real quick. If you are running reactive armor on Jug, and at the same time running Vampiric Extraction on Voltrade, specifically with that combo and that combo only, this sword will make you immortal. You just hold left click in a corner and you are actively immortal. It's crazy how strong this thing is in that one niche case scenario. Outside of that, the Durandal and the Balmung come into play. So the Balmung, no matter what you do, pick it up, no matter what stage of the game you are in, augments, no matter what, this thing is ridiculously strong. You got a massive buff. And if you come into Citadel Daymore without any augments, this is the best sword in the game. Hands down, it is the best sword. However, talking about augments, Durandal. So now after the buff, if you look at your augments for Deadwire, and you have Lightning Strike, the others don't matter that much. I'd say probably High Voltage Lightning Strike is probably best for it, because I don't think haste actually affects the sword at all, right? Maybe it does, I don't know. Regardless, if it affects the sword, haste is better. If it doesn't, then High Voltage is better. But if you have the Lightning Strike, then Durandal is probably my favorite sword. Just the fact that you can proc a massive, like, wave wide, like hit every zombie in the round wide Lightning Strike. That also stuns them every 3 seconds. And then also, not to mention, specifically because this is on Citadel Daymore that this wonder weapon is placed, you have the Amalgam, which is weak to lightning. So no matter what you do on Citadel, as long as you have Lightning Strike, I think Durandal is probably the strongest sword. So all 3 of Balmung, Durandal, and Soleas have the potential to be the best sword, depending on your niche situation, what you're trying to do, and your progress in the game. All 3 of them are incredible. Caliburn is also great, but it's just not as good as the others. At no stage or point in the game will this be better than the other 3 swords, unfortunately. That being said, they're all amazing. If you have a team of 4 with all of them, you're gonna destroy everything. Like, they're so good. And I think that's all for this video. It's been a bit of a different video than normal. I wanted to try a non-camo video, and since I saw a lot of negativity in the community, I wanted to talk about something positive and something I think is a really cool change. Anyway, that's all for this time. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and join the Discord. It's down in the description. I will see you later.